Nsera stepped into the room like a hawk looking for its next prey. His chest was puffed up, and veins bulged from his thick neck. From afar, he resembled a charging bear. The advisors who were with him hurried to a corner of the room like cockroaches. The deaths they had seen taught them that this beastly man had no sense of compassion, especially now that he was angry. He picked up his calabash cup and sent it crashing on the floor. With a low growl, he sent for his servant and whispered something in his ears. The servant nodded wearily and ran out of the room. In a few minutes, the servant was back, accompanied by another man. The man's eyes widened with terror when he saw Nsera, and he made a move to run out the door. The servant who had come with him held him back, and Nsera stood a few inches away from him. The advisors waited in anticipation of what would happen. They themselves were grateful they were not the object of this man's rage. With the servant holding the other man in place, Nsera drew his silver dagger and sliced the man's throat. The blood spewed on his face, but his stern expression did not change. He showed neither sympathy nor remorse. The advisors sat in despair as they witnessed what had just occurred. Nsera wiped his face and hands and signaled their attention. The meeting had just begun. The question that hung silently in the air was why he was angry. It was not a question of why he had killed the man, because killing had become second nature to Nsera. He killed when he was angry, bored, and overly excited. A few of them knew, but those who didn't dared not ask. It would indicate that they were not present in his last meeting. It was simple. A young woman named Nana was the fuel of this man's untamed fire. Nana was not his wife. She belonged to Dandu, a loyal servant of the king. The two had tied the knot about a year ago and were living happily as a married couple, loving each other more with each passing day and paying no attention to the troubled world around them. That fragile bubble they were wrapped in came to an end when she disrupted Nsera's plans. Nana possessed a gift that was larger than life. She had the ability to see the 3-month future of anyone she touched. When she was younger, she took on the role of a savior. She would inform parents, children, and the elderly of the dangers she saw when she touched them. She even warned the chiefs of wars and conflicts that spelled disaster for them and the community. The only problem with her plan to save the world was the people she wanted to save. Parents flogged their children for going close to her, and the young women in the community nicknamed her the Prophetess, a good-for-nothing seer. Nobody wanted to hear a negative truth about their future. Nana's confidence in her abilities shrank. She eventually stopped telling people her visions and ultimately withdrew from them. When Dandu, who had left the village, returned, he fell hopelessly in love with her. He first noticed her at a town hall meeting he called for in the community. The king had sent him to gather information about a certain well in the heart of the kingdom by hearing from the people directly. Everyone had an opinion to give, including a 90-year-old blind man who had never used the well. The only person quiet was Nana. He didn't know her name at the time, but he was captivated by the stillness in her eyes and her beauty. By the next meeting, he volunteered to anchor it just so he could see her. He was disappointed when she hadn't come, and since he never got to know her name, he couldn't ask about her. The feeling of frustration haunted him with her absence in the subsequent meetings. He thought of giving up after the 9th week of actively searching for her. His prayers must have been answered because that week he saw her in the market. She had come to price a material for an event, and he came to buy a material for the king and himself. They happened to be in the same store. Dandu coyly asked her which one looked best on him. He already knew the answer to that question, but he would do anything to get her to speak with him. Nana gave him the kindest smile and pointed to the same material. He thanked her for helping his dilemma and offered to pay for her material. She thanked him for the kind gesture, and he got to ask her name. She told him and left the store. From that day, he searched for Nana. He met some of the villagers to ask about where she lived and the places she frequented. Many said they did not know much about her. He stuck to visiting the market as frequently as possible. The next time he saw her, he wasted no time in declaring his intentions to be her husband. She was shocked at first, but gradually began to enjoy his company. Dandu was very knowledgeable and told her of all his experiences in and out of the village. He entertained her questions and was patient to listen to her. When he made the official proposal, Nana agreed to marry him but vowed never to tell him about her gift. She felt it was for the best, but secretly, she feared his rejection. Their love grew not only as lovers but as friends, but Nana never mentioned her gift. One night, after she prepared dinner, Dandu came home from work. As was her custom, she embraced her husband and lightly pinched his cheeks. Her skin met his and she fell into a trance. In the vision, she saw Dandu being falsely accused of stealing the king's most priceless treasure. It was the golden vase that his late wife had cherished most and left behind. The vase was found in his bag, and the setting resembled a banquet in the palace. Dandu kept trying to explain himself, but the king was furious and ordered the executioner to cut off his head. She quickly regained herself and her knees became weak. When Dandu asked her what was wrong, she claimed it was stress from cooking. Her visions showed her the outcome but not the villain. From that night, Nana took on the role of packing Dandu's work bag. He secretly wondered why she had suddenly decided to help him, but he trusted her enough not to question it. The night she saw the vase was the same night Dandu came home drunk. It was unlike him to drink so heavily, and it puzzled her. She undressed him, fed him, and guided him to the bedroom. While he slept, she began to unpack his bag. The golden vase fell out and hit the floor. She gasped. There was never a time Nana fought against fate. All her visions had always come to pass, and it pained her because she felt helpless against it. This time was different. There was a cry in her heart to protect her life with Dandu, to save the man who chose her when she doubted herself. The next morning, after Dandu left for work, Nana left the house and walked the bush path that led to the palace. She crossed her fingers as the golden vase hit her sides inside her leather bag. She arrived at the palace and sent for Swesa, a maid who worked there. Swesa was her trusted friend and ally. The two had met when Nana was a teenager. What started as casual conversations along the stream path ended up as bonding for a lifetime. The two ladies would sit under the moonlight and speak till dawn about the lives they dreamed of, the number of children they would have, and the men they desired to marry. It was in one of such occasions that Nana opened up about her gift. She felt uneasy doing so because of her past. Swesa understood her friend's uneasiness and patted her back. She said her secret was safe with her till the grave. Nana cautioned her friend for talking about death, but the two girls laughed about it later on. She was Nana's safe space before Nana met Dandu. They made a pact as friends to keep their secrets. At the palace, Nana wasted no time explaining why she had sent for her friend. She handed her the skin-hide bag with a letter and left the premises. The letter contained instructions on what to do with the contents of the bag and, most importantly, why she had brought it. Nana hoped in her heart as she left the palace that she had averted the danger. She wished fate had changed. For a while, things were peaceful, and life for the Dandus continued as usual. That was until the king announced a royal banquet in honor of the late queen. The whole community was invited, but noblemen and the king's servants were given special seats with the king. Dandu bought Nana all manner of accessories: beads for the neck, waist, and ankles made from the finest materials. She was beautiful after putting on her makeup and attire. The excitement of the day and the praise of her husband could not take away the dread that had formed within her. She remembered that the execution in her vision had taken place at a banquet. She tried to persuade her husband not to go, but he could not resist the urge to showcase his beautiful wife to the world. The best she could do was thoroughly search his bag and pray she had changed fate. There were various displays of art, dances, different delicacies, and familiar kingdom rituals, but Nana's worried look remained unshaken. She only smiled when Dandu introduced her to his friends and colleagues. At the last part of the event, a masked man appeared during the final dance. The people cheered as he moved his rigid hips. They thought it was part of the performance until he snatched Dandu's bag and emptied its contents. Since he was the focus of the dance, the crowd ceased their applause and were astonished at what happened. Dandu was too shocked to speak, and Nana was puzzled until she remembered her vision. That man was the culprit who had planted the golden vase in her husband's bag and waited until this night to set him up. An old woman, ignorant of Nana's thoughts, raised the alarm for the thief, but the masked man escaped through the crowd. The banquet ended abruptly because of the incident. On their way out, Nana met Swesa. She hugged and thanked her friend for the great assistance in her challenge. Fate had changed, and Dandu was saved. On her way to meet Dandu at the palace gate, she bumped into a huge man. Her hand slightly brushed against his, and she fell into a trance. This time, her vision was blurry, but she saw a man with a long cut etched on his left cheek standing beside a lifeless body. The body belonged to a woman, and that woman was her. She regained consciousness, and the fear returned. Had she not altered fate? Who was this man? Lost in her thoughts, the man she collided with made a grunt. She had stepped on his foot when they hit. She began to apologize but stopped when she saw his face. He had a long cut wound etched on his left cheek. He was the same man in her vision. She completed her apology and ran to meet Dandu. That night, she tossed and turned on the bed. Her dreams were constantly haunted by the image of that man and what had taken place in her vision. She jumped when she felt a hand on her forehead. It was Dandu. He noticed her discomfort and wanted to know if she was okay. Nana immediately held his shirt, and tears flowed freely down her face. She told him everything about her dreams, her gift, the golden vase, and how she had been afraid to touch him when they first got married. She expected rejection, anger, or denial, but Dandu did something else. He caressed her cheeks and stroked her hair. He told her everything would be fine. Although the information was a lot to take in, he assured her that he believed her. Dandu told her the man she met was named Nsera, a feared but respected member of the king's council, a warlord who had fought many great battles for the kingdom. They both did not understand his connection in killing Nana. He said he had only met a few times with Nsera, and those were meetings based on the king's request. They both debated possible reasons as to why she had the vision, and when there was no possible explanation, Nana fell asleep on Dandu's chest. She remained unstirred, and her worry wrinkles were gone until he left for work the next day. Her mind became restless in his absence. She only left the house to visit the stream and the market. Dandu was unhappy to see the state his wife was in each time he returned home. There were days he saw her lost in thought. The food came out burnt because she was no longer conscious of her environment, but he chose to remain calm. One hot afternoon, when the sun was in its prime, Nana heard a knock on the door. She was skeptical at first, but she remembered Dandu sometimes forgot his work tools at home or stopped by for lunch. She opened the door only to be enveloped in darkness. When she awoke, she saw Swesa. Her friend was bruised from head to toe, and her body was unmoving. Nana screamed, but a man pushed her head down and warned her not to say anything. She was held in a confined space that smelled of urine and fermented palm wine. Several men guarded her there for days without food. There were a few rogue men who tried to make advances at her, but a certain man, presumably their leader, reminded them that the boss would not approve of that. Dandu returned home that night and did not see Nana. He searched everywhere for her. He asked about Swesa, but people said they had seen her leave the palace and she must have returned to her hometown. The market women also informed him that Nana had not been seen that day. Some ill-wishers and gossiping grandmothers advised him to stop searching, claiming she had run away with another man. He refused to believe them. As he prepared to head to a neighboring village, he remembered her vision and decided to see the king. He appeared before the king and told him about his wife's disappearance and his suspicions concerning Nsera. If his claims proved false, he would lose his position and suffer humiliation, for the king did not tolerate disloyalty against his trusted officials. Because Dandu had gained favor with the king, Nsera was brought to trial. When questioned, Nsera denied the accusations. Everything was going according to his plans until a royal messenger announced that 2 women had been found hidden in Nsera's second house. The women were brought forward, and Dandu recognized one of them. It was his beloved Nana. She looked weak and thinner. He ran to her and took her in his arms. The other woman was Swesa, and she was not moving. The royal physician was summoned and confirmed Suesa dead. Nana let out a shrill cry, and Dandu held her tightly. The trial atmosphere grew tense, and Nsera was questioned further. He could no longer deny the truth. Laughing, he confessed to framing Dandu using the masked man, whom he disposed of afterwards. He also praised his oracle for revealing Suesa as a link to the one who had spoiled his plans. Before he could say more, the king ordered the executioner to proceed. Nsera's head left his neck and rolled across the floor. Nana felt sickened at the sight and vomited. Dandu and the physician took her away for treatment. It was later discovered that Nana was 3 months pregnant, and the atmosphere of chaos slowly turned into one of joy. The king awarded Dandu a promotion for his bravery. There was celebration for the baby and mourning for Suesa. The couple returned home, and Dandu took Nana's hands in his. He promised to protect her and fight for their growing family. A few weeks later, Dandu caught a fever. Sweat ran through his body, and he looked pale. Nana fetched water and mopped his body. She placed a wet cloth on his forehead and touched his face to feel his temperature. He was very hot. She asked if he wanted to eat, but he did not respond. She got up to prepare a meal despite his silence. As she was leaving, he held her hand in an attempt to make her stay. Nana fell into a trance. This time, she saw Dandu in tears and agony. He was crying beside a person. It was like he lost something. She was not able to tell who the figure belonged to because she was behind the person. Couldn't be. Could that be Nsera? Nana's eyes became cold after that vision. Dandu could sense something was wrong with her, but he did not have enough strength in him to speak. She let go of his hand and headed to the kitchen. Had fate really been changed? Or did she just make it worse by sacrificing the only friend she had? Tears welled up in her eyes, and she broke down. Dandu had drifted to sleep when she returned with his meal. She sat on a wooden stool opposite his bed and fanned him. After a while, she fanned herself and closed her eyes. The sound of voices woke her. She opened her eyes to see an empty bed. She wondered where Dandu could have gone in his condition. She went to look for him in the outer room. He was there with another man whom she believed to be one of the king's messengers. Dandu handed him a letter and bade him goodbye. When he saw Nana, he smiled. She asked him what had happened, and he told her he wanted them to move. The letter he gave the king's messenger contained his resignation as the king's royal servant. Nana felt heartbroken because she knew why he had made the decision. She knew he wanted her safe. He reassured her that it was not only because of their safety, but also because he wanted a change of environment for the growth of their baby. The Dandus left the community a week later and headed to a neighboring town. It was the same town Dandu had come from before he married her. They settled in nicely, and the people were very welcoming. Dandu started work as a woodsmith and the village spokesman. There were women who found him very attractive, but such attractions died down when they saw how highly he regarded Nana. The king from the Adjua community still sent letters to Dandu. He was not very happy with his resignation, but he supported his decision regardless. The letters contained problematic cases the king needed advice on, and Dandu responded in kind with letters. Sometimes the letters came with gifts for him and Nana. He was ever so grateful. Nana continued her role as a housewife. She was freer and often visited places with some of the villagers. She also made friends with married women and some of the single ladies. She had not completely forgotten the last vision she had, but with no intention of bringing fear into her home, she kept it to herself. Her belly grew bigger and rounder every day. Many women sang her praises, and younger children flocked around her. Dandu praised her daily. He learned how to cook just to please her and often bargained for the best game from hunters to feed her. Nana could not have asked for a better life. After Cretania, their first daughter, was born, Nana went to the stream while her husband and baby were still asleep. It was dawn, and this would be her first time heading to the stream. She remembered Suesa but fought the urge to cry. On her way back, she bumped into an old lady. There was something about the collision that reminded her of the first time she met Nsera. She shrugged off the awful feeling and apologized to the old lady. The old lady was hunched over and had very wrinkled skin. She thanked Nana and was just about leaving when she told Nana something troubling. She said nothing would be well if Nsera's spirit was not put to rest. Nana stopped in her tracks and hurried to meet up with the woman. The woman stared hard into Nana's eyes before she continued speaking. At the end of the discussion, Nana discovered that the only way to end Nsera's rage was to touch the oracle he had spoken of. The old woman told her that trying to see the future of the oracle would come at a cost. This would be the second time Nana was attempting to change fate. She thought about the first time. It had cost her her best friend. What would it cost her now? She could not even imagine losing anyone in this new community, or Dandu. Why was Nsera after Dandu even in the grave? Was there something more to this story? And was her gift a blessing or a curse? Nana desired to seek help. The old lady noticed her worried face and told her where she lived. She said it was up to Nana to decide. Nana pondered her decision. When she got home, her little baby and her loving husband greeted her with open arms. She watched the two of them. Dandu would place Cretania on his head and run with her through the whole house. She would make tiny giggles and watch her father in admiration. Nana loved seeing the two of them together. She felt a pain in her chest when she remembered the vision she had about Dandu. That night, she was determined to see the vision again. What details had she missed? Was it truly Dandu or Nsera she saw? Was this vision even real? She knew her visions never came to her at will, but that was because she never desired to see them. This night, she would try something different. She needed answers. After they put Cretania to sleep, Nana took her husband's hand and led him to bed. It was not unusual for her to be this playful around him. He acknowledged her mood and carried her in a bridal style to the bed. She hugged him tightly in hopes that the vision would come. It did not. She stayed in that position for a long time. Dandu was a bit puzzled by how long she wanted to hug him, but he indulged her. After 5 minutes, she was asleep. He tucked her in and joined her. From then on, every attempt Nana made to re-see the vision was unsuccessful. She grew frustrated and wondered why her gift did not come at will. After many days, she decided to stop thinking about it. The vision came on a day she did not expect. Cretania was crying, and she needed help with her. Dandu had just come back from work, but he offered to carry the baby. As she passed Cretania into his hands, Nana fell into a trance. This time it was the same vision, but with one difference. She could see the features of the person beside Dandu. It was a woman. She did not see her face, but she could tell by her features that she was older. She kept laughing and calling two names, Nsera and Nsera, as Dandu fell to the ground, crying uncontrollably. This time Nana jerked back as she came out of it. Too many thoughts rushed through her mind. She took a seat because she was overwhelmed. Cretania stopped crying and fell asleep in Dandu's arms. When the baby was put to bed, Nana went to Dandu. She stared at her husband. She was tired of keeping secrets. Dandu noticed her strange behavior and took her hand. But before he could ask anything, she asked if he knew anyone named Nsera. Dandu appeared shocked by her question and remained silent. Nana felt she was going crazy and dragging him with her. She wanted to tell him not to bother answering when Dandu finally spoke. He told her his secret. Years before they got married, Dandu belonged to the king's military. He served side by side with Nsera. Nsera had a younger sister named Nsera, and she was very fond of him. Whenever they returned from wars and missions sent by the king, Nsera would cook meals for him and her brother. He saw these as kind gestures and did not turn her away, until her actions moved from simple hospitality to emotional closeness. She began to follow him everywhere he went. Nsera and Dandu were bound only by duty and not by friendship. So when Dandu complained about his sister, Nsera's pride was wounded. He warned his sister to stay away from Dandu. She obeyed for a few months, but as the year progressed, she reached out again, this time with even greater fervor. It frightened Dandu because many people had already begun calling them husband and wife, and word was reaching his parents. One day, he publicly warned her to stay away from him. Dandu later returned home to take a nap. Rumors had begun to spread about Nsera. Many claimed she was sick, suffering from an illness she had possessed since birth. It was also one of the reasons her brother Nsera had allowed her so much freedom. As Dandu slept, he felt a hand on his face. His warrior instincts awakened him instantly, and he grabbed the hand, ready to slam the intruder to the ground. It was none other than Nsera. She was dressed in a silk garment that barely concealed her body. Dandu felt disgust rather than temptation. He grabbed her hand and tried to pull her outside. As he did, she resisted and struggled against him. He used more strength to drag her out, but when she continued fighting him, he released her hand and turned to pick up his top, intending to leave the room instead. Nsera suddenly grabbed his dagger and held it to her throat. This time, Dandu was alarmed. He carefully assessed his surroundings, preparing to rush forward before something worse could happen. The sick and obsessed girl slit her throat, declaring that if she could not have him, there was no reason to keep living. Dandu rushed to save her, trying desperately to revive the young woman, but it was useless. She was already gone. He was scared because he knew more than ever Nsera would seek to kill him. The people would accuse him because she died in his bedroom. He fled. That was why he left the village only to return later. When he asked what had happened in his absence, many said that Nsera was furious. He had sworn he would kill Dandu. Although a few people tried to advocate for Dandu, Nsera refused to listen. Because Dandu was under the king's protection and immunity, Nsera could not harm him. Nsera's pride also prevented him from openly attacking Dandu. When Dandu met him once, Nsera claimed he had forgiven him. But deep down, Dandu had a sinking feeling that he had not. When Nana mentioned Nsera, he was uncertain, but it did not entirely surprise him. When Nana heard this, she walked outside to get some air. She had mixed feelings. Dandu should have told her. She should have known. She blamed herself for seeing these visions. He followed her outside and embraced her. He knew she was unhappy, so he asked for her forgiveness. He never meant to put her through all this. He was equally afraid of losing her. Nana grew quiet and looked at him. She had hidden her secret, and she had hidden this vision as well. It was time they trusted each other enough to reveal their secrets. This would be their final attempt to leave peacefully. They both left for the old woman's place, carrying their daughter, Cretania. Dandu held their baby while Nana led the way to the woman's house. They followed a path along a hill that led to an old hut. Nana announced that she was the one who had come before, and the old woman stepped outside to welcome them. She wore faded clothes but had a warm smile, unlike the last time Nana had seen her. She seemed surprised when Dandu entered with Cretania. The hut's walls were worn, and the house smelled of medicine. It was not unpleasant, but it was distinct enough to be noticed. The old woman offered them seats at the table. On it were snacks made from groundnuts and cashew nuts. They smelled delicious, contrasting with the medicinal scent in the room. The family was too occupied with their predicament to think of eating, although their daughter kept reaching for the food until Dandu gently held her still. Nana asked the woman how they could find the oracle she had previously mentioned. The woman looked at Dandu, and he explained everything about the incidents that happened to them. Nsera's death, Nsera's rage, and how he had fled their former community. They needed a way out, and they would do anything to prevent anyone else from dying. The old woman remained silent. She listened carefully but did not respond. Only when Cretania mistakenly picked up a snack and was about to put it into her mouth did she scream. It startled everyone, including the innocent baby, who began to cry. Then the old woman herself began to cry, leaving the family confused. Nana wondered if their story had truly been touching enough to move her to tears. The old woman finally confessed. She said she knew who they were. She had poisoned the snacks, hoping Nana would eat them someday when she visited. She hated Dandu and wanted him to suffer the loss of someone he cherished. Still puzzled as to why this woman hated Dandu, Nana asked who she was. She revealed that she was the mother of the two siblings, Nsera and Nsera. She was the oracle Nsera had spoken of. She possessed the unique ability to see recent events connected to an inanimate object. When Nsera brought the golden vase to her, she heard the name Swesa. She also confessed that she had long been aware of Nsera's misdeeds. Nana now understood her gift. She understood the vision. The woman was related to Nsera, which explained why she was in the vision. It became clear that a member of Nsera's family had plotted to kill Dandu. The family forgave the woman, and the woman forgave Dandu. He promised to build her a better hut. The couple left with their child. It had been a long day and a long journey. From then on, Nana stopped seeing visions of death whenever she touched Dandu. Their love, once nearly torn apart by secrets, slowly began to heal. Critania, their daughter, helped mend their wounds, and they loved each other more deeply than ever before. The old woman's home was repaired, and they were never troubled again. With Dandu's support, Nana also took her first step toward using her gift publicly once more. She desired to help people, and she did so for a very long time. The end.